Hi, I'm James Bell, Calgary's Wine Snob, where I'll be examining the best boutique wines that Calgary has to offer, the personalities who go out and bring these wines back to Calgary, the stores that sell them, the restaurants that serve them, and most importantly, the dishes that go best with them. Whether it's dessert, breakfast, sushi, Alberta beef, we will have the best products available to you in our market and the best dishes that go with them, served by the personalities behind these wine stories. Join me here. Today we're at J. Webb Wines here on 17th Avenue. I'm joined by Wine Forager, Kevin McLean. Kevin travels the globe looking for boutique wine products to stock these shelves at J. Webb. Kevin, thanks so much for joining me today.
My pleasure, excited to be here.
And we're going to talk about California wines.
Let's do it.
Let's get to it. I love Chardonnay. I really enjoy Burgundian style wine, and this Pont Neuf Chardonnay is one of the best I've tasted. So Kevin, take me through this wine and their story.
Yeah, there's a pretty good reason why this wine is so different from the other ones out on the market, because Pont Neuf is a producer that's made by a guy named Douglas Danielek, and unlike most California winemakers who would have studied at UC Davis in California, Douglas did the opposite. He started in Burgundy. So he went there on a school trip when he was a kid. He went back and studied for 7 years, went to school with other Burgundian producers. So he really learned first about Burgundian wines and more about wines that come from specific places.
And this wine is ultra low production. We're talking like 125 cases.
Yeah, just a few barrels.
How do you get this?
Well, it helps when you know the guy. I worked with him for a long time, so we got the first crack at it.
And in terms of pairing, Kevin, what does this go well with?
You know, a lot of people want to jump right to fish with Chardonnay, but I think because this has that nice minerality, nice and fresh, you can really put this with things like poultry, chicken, wild mushroom sauce, something like that really makes it shine.
Cabernet Sauvignon from Mount Eden Vineyards. Kevin, wonderful wines and a great story. Take us through it.
Yeah, it is a great story. I think most people are probably familiar with the wines of Napa and Sonoma more so than Santa Cruz. It's a small area, but this is really ground zero for winemaking for boutiques in California. Mount Eden started in 1945, so it's really stood the test of time as one of the top wines, and you can go back and taste old examples of this wine and really see how they aged. So the winery sits at 2,000 feet above sea level. They overlook Silicon Valley. Of course, that land now is too expensive. No new wineries are going in. But it's a really unique spot because it's really quite cool up there. And modern thinking wouldn't really put Cabernet Sauvignon in such a cool spot. So what we end up with here is a much more elegant, fine, more Bordeaux style of wine that really doesn't exist anywhere else.
And given the low production, this would not be economically viable the way things work today.
No, and the fact that this wine is only $75 is really, I think, one of the most amazing things about it, because it competes with wines at 3, 4, 5 times that much money.
And I think most people would go to steak with Cabernet. What would you pair this with?
Yeah, it's the obvious choice, but I like to have a little more fun with it. You know, let's look at lamb, let's look at stews, let's look at some braised meats. This is an elegant wine, so you can take advantage of that with some finer dishes.
Ernestine Saint Fumé, my favorite barbecue wine all summer long and the sexiest wine label in the market, featuring the meat goddess. Kevin, how did you get Ernestine wines?
Persistence in a word. When I was working in California, I tried these wines. I really wanted to have them in on the shelves at J. Webb. So when I came back to Calgary, I tried a number of times to get them. And after 6 or 7 years of returning back, finally they agreed to sell me a few cases, and we've gone from there.
So after stocking them for several years, you finally got this.
Got to stock them in the store.
And a Syrah Cabernet Cinsault blend. Where do you pair this wine, Kevin?
Well, you know I love barbecue, so we're going barbecue all day with this. Ribs, brisket, pulled pork. It really makes those dishes sing. So
it's a cliche to say this, but juicy palate. This wine just fills your mouth. It is absolutely gorgeous.
It's got that smoky thing we all love in wine and that big raspberry fruit. So
amazing.
Great with barbecue.
How quickly does this sell out?
It sells out before it comes in.
How do I get some?
You got to know a guy.
I'm glad I know a guy. Kevin, thank you and J. Webb Wines for hosting the Wine Snob today here on 17th Avenue. Really appreciate the wines that you put out.
Thanks for having us. We always love to share some great wines and some good stories.
Follow me at YYC Wine Snob on Twitter. This has been another episode of the Wine Snob.